This is GARIS, Masculist, MGTOW flyers. That is 2 3-page essays on the themes of Masculism and MGTOW, written by and read aloud by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. This is flyer number 463, entitled Refocusing Masculist Gender Politics onto the High Schools. Description. Masculist leaders are very conscious that the root cause of the financial massacring and destruction of the lives of one father in 4 by the hated, fluffy feminist-dominated divorce courts, and the decades-long manslavery of men by fluffy manslaving wives, is the fact that high school young women are not yet pressured to FIP up, as they should be, given that women now have a career window of half a century. So the Masculists aim to put a Masculist group in every high school so that young male Masculisted classmates are in a position to apply tremendous moral pressure on their female fluffy classmates, forcing young women to become FIPs or pay a very heavy price of not getting a man. Setting up these Masculist groups in every high school will be the responsibility of powerful Masculist groups at universities and government-sponsored Masculist organizations. Once nearly every woman is a FIP, then the big political goal of the Masculists of creating a FIP society will have been achieved. The flyer itself. Bit of adjustment here. Refocusing Masculist Gender Politics onto the High Schools by Prof. Dr. Hugo de Garis. Email profhugodegaris@yahoo.com. Website profhugodegaris.wordpress.com. The above title may need some clarification. Why would Masculists, that's mature Masculist adults, think that there should be a refocusing of Masculist gender politics onto the high schools? I focus on the US high school system, since most of my readership and viewers are Americans. In the US, high school is usually grades 9 through 12. Students at grade 9 are usually referred to as freshers. At grade 10, sophomores. At grade 11, juniors. And at grade 12, seniors. Seniors are usually 18, hence freshers are 15. Why are Masculists so concerned with the high schools? Because it is at this critical age range that students choose which majors they will study, which one can divide into 2 very important categories as seen by the Masculists. There are those majors that the economy values and pays good salaries for, and there are those majors that the economy does not value and does not pay good salaries for. There's a definite tendency for high school girls to choose to study the latter category of subjects and not the STEM, science, tech, engineering, math fields, preferring the intellectually easier, intellectually lazier majors, the soft, memory-based option that does not require analytical thought, where students have to reason to really think, such as with math and the sciences. High school girls tend to choose such subjects as English literature, foreign languages, history, etc., because they are less intellectually demanding and often expect at the back of their minds that they're going to be financially supported for the rest of their lives by some manslave husband whom she will control with access to her cunt. This preference of young women to choose the non-analytical subjects, the non-STEM majors, has profound consequences for men later in life. Masculists label young women who do not study career-competent majors, in brackets, that is those majors that the economy pays well for, particularly STEM majors, fluffies, based on the word fluff, with connotations of being light, not serious, not adult, not responsible, not career competent, not FIP, that's financially independent person. Masculists label these young women fluffy crappers because they have chosen to study what the Masculists call fluffy crap, that is, economically useless majors that will result in these women earning fluffy crap diplomas at college, which will not enable them to earn good money when they are in the workforce. The typical female college student will screw around in her 20s, get infected with herpes half the time, then in her 30s she will hit the wall, that is, lose her looks, her sexual attractiveness, as her body starts to wrinkle, and get baby rabies as she becomes conscious that her biological clock is ticking. She then realises, with her fluffy crap diploma, she can't afford to buy her own middle-class house or apartment that she wants to raise her kids in, so will start looking around for some gullible, stupid, ignorant, man-slavable man to parasite off, so that she can stay at home raising her kids and expects him, her husband manslave, to pay for her, the kids and the house. That is, she expects him to pay for it all. She thus, from a masculine perspective, expects to be a fluffy manslaver, manslaving him for decades of his life. However, since she has had dozens of penises in her slutty 20s at college and during her early years in the workforce, she will become less likely to emotionally and sexually bond closely with her husband. Research shows that the more penises a woman has had in her, the higher is the probability that she will divorce. Men have good reason to shame sluts, since slutty women are a very bad marriage investment for men. Half of marriages fail, ending in divorce. In about half of these divorces, the divorcing wife will turn into a vindictive feminazi bitch, out to extract as much as she can in terms of money and wealth from her ex-husband, having the attitude that, quote, "I'll take him for all he's got." That is, she has a real fluffy mentality towards her ex-husband. In brackets, a fluffy is a traditional woman who expects to be able to live off the money and labour of a man. Fluffies are the enemy of the masculists, since masculists reason that women now have a half-century of career window, so have a powerful moral duty to fip up and not expect, fluffy style, to be able to parasite off the money and labour of a man, manslaving him for decades, a major gender crime in the eyes of the masculists. Masculists aim to wipe out fluffydom, seeing it as manslavery, by wiping out the fluffies, by punishing them severely, by totally ignoring them, not even pumping and dumping them, forcing them to rot on the shelf, causing their fluffy manslaving parasite genes to be removed from the gene pool. In today's world, most women are not real FIPs, so still have a rather fluffy mentality and expectation of men, that men exist on this earth to pay for women to have babies. With this fluffy mentality, when a woman comes to divorce, she will, in about half of divorces, become that vindictive feminazi bitch. The divorce courts were taken over by the fluffy feminists in the 70s, who are feminists in the parliaments, but behave as fluffy parasites in the divorce courts, expecting men to pay. The masculists have a particular hatred of the fluffy feminist divorce courts because they are financially crucifying and destroying the lives of a quarter, in capital letters, of fathers. In brackets, half of marriages end in divorce, and about half of those divorces, the ex-wife turns into a real vindictive feminazi bitch out to destroy her ex-husband. The fluffy feminist-controlled divorce courts have made divorce so toxic for men that they have made marriage and paternity toxic for men. So that in many countries now, 2/3 of young men refuse to marry and reject paternity, preferring to live the MGTOW, that's MGTOW, that's men going their own way, lifestyle, by refusing to give young women their sperm. They will pump and dump women, but not commit to them, and certainly will not marry them and get them pregnant. The Masculists are the most political, angry, combative, and far-sighted of the various groups in the manosphere, that is, the men's libbers, which consist of three main groups: the MRM, that's Men's Rights Movement, which aims to make laws that are more favourable to men and hence less favourable to women; the MGTOW, who quietly, individually, passively walk away from the marriage market and paternity; and the Masculists. The MRM takes a rather victim role for men, seeing men as victims of a misandrist feminism, with many gender laws favouring women at the expense of men. MGTOWs are seen by the Masculists as apolitical wimps who lack solidarity with other men, who are not angry and certainly don't fight, hence the wimpiness. Masculists, on the other hand, are angry, are fighters, who lash out at monoconscious feminazis, who feel that gender oppression is a one-way street, that it is women who are the oppressed and it is men who are the oppressors. Such feminists are monoconscious in the sense that they know nothing about masculist ideas, so don't accept the idea that gender oppression is a two-way street, and in fact certainly don't accept the idea that women oppress men far worse than vice versa, since, as seen by the Masculists, even rape is small potatoes compared to women's decades-lasting manslaving parasitism of men. Masculists harangue monoconscious feminazis who are so unpleasant towards men, since they are angry at men for the ways that men oppress women, in brackets, for example, rape, sexual harassment, domestic violence against women, etc., but who don't have their feminist rage at men cancelled by an equivalent masculist rage at women for the ways that women oppress men, especially with women's decades-lasting gender crimes against men, for example, decades-lasting manslaving parasitism, decades-lasting paternity fraud, decades-lasting pill lying, etc. To Masculists, women hugely out-oppress men than vice versa. But monoconscious feminists, who by definition have only had their feminist consciousnesses raised, understand nothing of the above masculist complaints against women, that is, fluffy women. The Masculists are political and visionary. They want fundamental changes in society so that men do not have their lives destroyed in the hated fluffy feminist-dominated divorce courts, so that men have the same right as women to reject an unwanted pregnancy. Women have the MARA, that's maternity rejection right, commonly known as the abortion right. But men don't have the PARA, that's paternity rejection right. Women have the legal right to reject an unwanted pregnancy that could seriously harm the quality of their lives. But men don't have the same right, because society and the law sees men as cash machines to pay for women to have babies. Masculists fight this attitude and punish women who don't fip up and take financial responsibility for their own lives. One of the main political goals of the Masculists is the creation of a FIP society. That's capital F, capital S. That is, one in which both sexes, as children, are socialised by parents and educated by teachers to be FIPs by bothering to get a career-competent education at high school, which is where the title of this flyer comes in. From the point of view of the Masculists, the root cause of men's manslavery at the hands of the hated fluffies is what happens in the high schools when young women choose to become fluffy crappers by choosing to study fluffy crap majors, thus dooming them to become fluffies as adults, with all the subsequent consequences for men, in the hated, fluffy, feminist-controlled divorce courts. This is the end of part 1.